Jurors are a major component of jury trials. It is their responsibility to recall, memorize, and make judgments based upon evidence presented in the courtroom. However, does a juror really have the ability to uphold their opinions against the inherent pressures that come with group settings? This topic is of really great importance, more specifically to criminal cases where more than likely someone is facing a hard time. I mean, just how can it be assumed that a decision that is carried down from jurors is based upon the facts of the case and not peer pressure from other jurors? Therefore, I will also discuss ways in which conformity enters the judicial system through jurors, thus making the essence of the jury process counterproductive, hence relying on the unreliable juror. In New York State, criminal cases must unanimously be agreed on by jurors. Until recently, as of April 20th, 2020, the United States Supreme Court ruled that all states must have unanimous verdicts in serious criminal trials. The jury process within itself is to assure that hearings are unbiased as well as fair. Juries for civil cases consist of 6 to 12 people. When jurors are summoned, they receive an orientation that explains their responsibilities as a juror. Prior to receiving their preliminary instructions, they are also required to take an oath in which they pledge to be fair, impartial, and follow the guidelines of the law. According to the New York State Unified Court System, deliberations take place after the attorneys have made their final arguments. The judge then gives the jurors instruction on the process of deliberation, and then they are sent to a private room. Now, the process of deliberation over a case could take hours, weeks, there's no set time. However, typically deliberation usually takes 5 to 10 days. As a group, the jurors review evidence, testimony, and hear arguments. A verdict of innocent or guilty must unanimously be agreed to. So on the next slide, let's take a look at what deliberations can look like. When jurors cannot agree, it results in a hung jury. Now, this could result in a mistrial and a new trial can start, or the prosecutors can choose not to retry the case. So, exactly what is conformity? Well, conformity is the alteration of someone's opinions, behaviors, or evaluations in accordance with other people's behaviors, opinions, or evaluations. This social influence impacts jurors as they may disregard crucial evidence in an effort to gain group acceptance. However, findings in social psychology have indicated that it is common of groups to conform to the dominant opinion or a socially desirable position. There are two types of social influences that lead to conformity: informational and normative social influences. So let's take a look at informational influence, which is any additional information exchanged within a group that has the capacity to change a person's attitude, beliefs, and or behavior. For instance, it is not uncommon for a juror to hear unfamiliar terms, such as complex legal phrases or how to even properly interpret presented information. So it's important to note that it is possible for members of a jury to rely on others' interpretation instead of developing their own understanding. Therefore, there is a potential for a juror to agree to cast a vote of guilty or innocent without fully understanding critical aspects of a case. Normative influence, on the other hand, refers to how people alter their opinions, belief, and or behavior in an effort to be accepted by others. The acceptance factor, be it informational or normative influence, it can also be based out of fear or intimidation. In fact, a Tennessee juror in the death penalty case of Gail Owens admitted to not using all of the mitigating facts that were crucial to the defendant's character. The juror was quoted as saying, "Unfortunately, although I had doubts when we were in deliberation, I was not able to stand up to the other bullies on the jury." Conformity can lead to group polarization, group think, and group cohesion. So let's talk about group polarization. Group polarization occurs when members of a group with similar interests or ideas engage in a discussion, and then afterwards, the group then develops a stronger opinion on the subject that was originally expressed. As jurors engage in discussions over a topic, additional points are introduced and or previous ones are reiterated. After the discussion, jurors will present a more intensified viewpoint than what was previously expressed. This change in behavior can impact the outcome of a case. So, the more time jurors spend together in isolation increases the potential for a juror to ascribe to the narrative of the group rather than express their individual opinion. Groupthink compromises jury deliberations as it alienates individual thought and or discussions that could be crucial to a case. Groupthink results in poor decision making and overrides logic. Crucial aspects of a case potentially could be eliminated as individual thought is overlooked due to fear of backlash. As jury deliberations do not have a set time, time itself can impact a juror's decision. Time is a very important variable that can impact the amount of time spent on reviewing and or scrutinizing evidence of a case. Time pressures can adversely affect decision quality. For instance, jurors can rush to a quick verdict in trials due to the pressure of constraints. Time pressure is a source of stress that will have the effect of inducing a policy-making group to become more cohesive and more likely to engage in group think. In the case of United States versus Lakhani, a juror admitted that his initial decision of not guilty was changed to guilty when he was told by a group member that he would cause the case to be extended for a lengthy period of time. The juror's explanation for changing the vote was, "He don't mean nothing to me. The man is guilty." High group cohesion can cause a resistance to change as well as a reluctancy to go against group norms. This in turn impacts jurors as high group cohesion could prevent them from considering facts of a case in exchange for group solidarity. The Hawthorne effect demonstrated that when people are aware that they are being observed, there is a tendency for that individual to change or mimic what they perceive to be the more desirable behavior. So the pressure to conform is even greater when an individual does not have any supporters or camaraderie within a group. In fact, research indicates that the potential for someone to alter their opinion or belief just to fit in becomes even greater. This means that jurors will vote in accordance with a group despite their personal opinion, and especially when they do not have any supporters. So, research indicates that actually close friendships amongst jurors lessens the possibility of an individual conforming. However, it's the distant friendships and strangers that increase the likelihood of a person conforming. When jurors know one another before a trial, which is a common, circumstance in rural areas, distant friends may feel compelled to conform with the group. The findings from a mock trial indicated that when the mock jurors changed their initial decisions after they received brief instruction that clarified complex and confusing interpretations of legal phrases. As the confusion of the legal terms were clarified, mock jurors felt more confident about their decisions. Relatively simple and brief instruction affected people's belief in guilt, their reasonable doubt threshold, and the way in which they justify their verdicts. Now, based upon those findings of that mock trial, I propose that jurors participate in a brief, mandatory webinar training after being selected for jury duty. The webinar would be given to the jurors during their orientation. It would provide a series of information that would tackle everything from complex and confusing legal phrases to the importance of individualistic thinking. It would also explain and define the different social influences. The webinar training would also address how social influences could impact their decision making. It would provide real life scenarios. More than 367 wrongfully convicted people have been exonerated through the Innocence Project. Though DNA has helped overturn these cases, it remains the responsibility of jurors to review the evidence of a case. The lives of people rest heavily on a system that is over 200 years old. As jurors are a major component of the judicial system, change should begin at the jurors' level. The Supreme Court has already reiterated that everyone has a right to a trial by a jury. The preventative measures that I propose will potentially help in preventing jurors from conforming. And as a result, maybe we can save a few innocent people from being wrongfully convicted of a crime just because a juror wants to go home early or feels too intimidated to speak up.